Alrighty, everyone. Mezzo Matt back here with another video for you guys. Appreciate y'all for watching this. It is September 20th, 2024. Once again, happy Friday to you guys all. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful into your work weeks as well as going into the weekend here. We've got some stuff to talk about. We don't have a lot of severe weather to talk about over the next couple of days. It'll be spotty in some areas. We do have the tropics that we're going to continue to talk about, as well as the overall pattern going forward into the end of the month of September as we start to look towards October. Now, the biggest thing that we're going to talk about is going to be the tropics. There's a lot of hype still on social media. Be very, very careful once again, guys, who you get your weather from, who you watch. Once again, there's a lot of false information that's going on around about the tropics right now. We're still in a very, question mark situation right now where this storm's going to develop at and where it's going to go and the intensity of it. So that will be figured out more as we go towards the early half of next week once we get closer to having a storm there in the Caribbean Sea. Now, I do want to go ahead and talk really quickly about the severe weather threat first. We have a marginal risk of severe weather up here into northern Montana and northwestern parts of North Dakota today for a wind and hail threat. That's very mediocre. Wind and hail threat as well here in the parts of the Oklahoma Panhandle, as well in the parts of central and northeastern Kansas, western Missouri, and southeastern parts of Nebraska and southwestern Kansas or southwestern Iowa, as well as a wind and hail threat with that, and then another wind and hail threat here in parts of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and southern Michigan as well with a wind and hail threat. So today, very, very small severe weather if there is anything. Just kind of be mindful if you're out and about in these areas today. But other than that, the general consensus is going to be relatively quiet as we go through the next couple of days here. Now, we do have more severe weather tomorrow. This is going to be due to a new trough that'll be coming through on the West Pacific and into the Four Corners. We have some slight risk of severe weather back down here into western Texas and eastern New Mexico. There is a 2% tornado risk that is inside of this yellow shaded area here for tomorrow, basically meaning that there's a 2% chance of a tornado within a 25-mile radius of a given point. So if you're down here in parts of Clovis, New Mexico, Roswell, Carlsbad, Hobbs, and here into parts of Hereford and western side of Lubbock, Texas, be mindful of that tomorrow. Wind and hail threat as well associated with any of these troughs that typically come through down here into parts of the southern plains and into the Four Corners. We do also have a marginal risk of severe weather here for wind and hail as well into parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, northeastern Kansas, southeastern Nebraska as well as a wind threat here in parts of PA, West Virginia, and Maryland. So once again, nothing too crazy. Be very, very mindful of that. We also have one more risk zone to talk about, and that's going to be for your day 3 forecast. Marginal risk for another trough that'll be advancing here from parts of Texas into Oklahoma, southeastern Kansas, and central Missouri. This could end up coming into the Ohio Valley potentially on your Monday forecast. We'll wait and see what the Storm Prediction Center does with that. But like I said, not going to be having any severe weather outbreaks over the next couple of days, at least as of right now. We'll be talking more about the tropics than anything else. I do want to show you guys the futurecast here for the next, just a couple of hours that we've got for today for these risk zones. Here's the latest HER model run. This is just going to kind of give you guys an idea on where the storms are going to fire off at. Once again, wind and hail, the biggest threats. If anything does fire off today, it's going to be very, very isolated and very scattered. Fort Wayne, Indiana, be watching out. Indianapolis, St. Louis there in Missouri, Illinois, Indiana areas, and then back here into the plains. Really not seeing much of development until later after midnight, and that could be for a little cluster of storms that develops on the Interstate 35 area from Des Moines to the Kansas City metro area. So be very mindful of that. One more area we'll talk about, and that's going to be for that risk zone that is present for tomorrow, where we have that slight tornado risk at. This is going to be down here in the parts of New Mexico and Texas, where we can see a couple cells that fire off later tomorrow afternoon with the daytime heating. Could see a couple of these cells with a couple of tornadoes. Can't be ruled out. Wind and hail going to be the main threats, and then this will kind of diminish with the daytime heating, and then we'll just have one big blob of rain associated with this. There's going to be a lot of heavy rainfall that does fall over the next couple of days, especially in the Central Plains, Southern Plains, and into the Ohio Valley and Missouri Valley areas here. So be very mindful of that with the water levels. As always, we've had a lot of rain in a lot of areas, so be very mindful of those flood levels. And I just want to show you guys just an idea on where the highest precip totals can be at here over the next 48 hours. You can see a pretty big swath of 1 to 3, maybe some 3 to 5 inch rainfall totals from West Texas through parts of central Kansas and into the northwestern parts of Missouri. So that's where the biggest heavy rainfall totals could be at over the next 48 to 72 hours. Just keep in mind on that. Some areas could see more, some could not see more. We'll just kind of deal with that. Now, the bigger thing we're going to be talking about, guys, and we're going to continue to talk about this, is going to be this orange blob here in the Gulf of Mexico as well as the Caribbean Sea. This does have a chance of a 40% cyclone development over the next 7 days, 0% chance in the next 2. This is going to continue to increase as far as the overall potential with the atmosphere, with this American gyro that we have here in effect. Those numbers will probably go up, especially as we get closer to next week, because we're gaining more confidence that there's going to be a storm next week. Is this going to be a hurricane? What is this going to be? We don't know yet. The odds of there being a hurricane are pretty good for next week. It's not 100% banking on it yet, but the idea that we're going to have a named storm next week definitely going to be a more than likely scenario, especially as we go toward the middle half of next week here. And where is this going to go? This could go to Texas. This could go to Mexico. This could go to Louisiana. There's a lot of areas here where this storm could develop. If it does develop, there's a chance also that it doesn't develop. These storms can kind of fizzle out once they get going as well, due to lack of ingredients in the atmosphere and as well as the water. Now, the ocean water content heating is very, very high as well. We've got energy in the Gulf of Mexico supply intensity for tropical systems, so that is in place, as well as a trough ejection that could play a factor, or not that could, but will play a factor on where the steering of this goes. The European model showing one scenario, the ICOM, the CMC, the GFS all kind of have a consensus of a between Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida Panhandle potential storm impact next week in the United States. So we'll talk more about that as we go over the next couple of days for you guys. It's really what we're going to be focused on over the next couple of days with you guys. And I do want to show you guys, this is the latest GFS model run. Take this with a grain of salt with the tropical side of things. Now, the overall pattern here in the United States, going to see this weekend, once again, that new trough come in. We could see some severe weather, some heavy rainfall for the central plains there, as well as the Ohio Valley and Mississippi valleys. As we go into next week, we start to see maybe another trough come through here on Thursday and Wednesday. Maybe some severe weather that could spark up in Kentucky, Tennessee potentially, or just could be some heavy rainfall. But you start to see that low that comes up out of the Gulf of Mexico here, and this will have the potential to produce that tropical cyclone, tropical storm, hurricane, whatever this is going to be. We will continue to have that updated for you guys here as far as the future goes with that. But landfall could be anywhere between Florida and Texas as of right now until we get an official low that develops. So just be mindful. But overall, looks like next weekend we're going to see precip be swung into the southeast, at least some beneficial rainfall for the deep south, which would be very good next weekend potentially. That would be the long range forecast. And then going forward with that, we take things with a grain of salt. So the overall pattern going to be quite interesting. We're relatively quiet for much of the United States, exceptions of the tropics and into the eastern half of the United States and central plains. But this is the overall jet stream. You can see that trough ejection moving through here over the next 2 to 3 days, starting here in the Four Corners, working its way into the central plains on Monday, and then Tuesday and Wednesday kind of setting up over the Ohio Valley and Kentucky and Tennessee area, where we could see a little bit of severe weather potentially on Tuesday and Wednesday. That trough ejection, this is going to be what defines where our system is going to go. We have a positively tilted trough. This is going to interact with that tropical storm or system that could come out of the Gulf or Caribbean Sea next week. This is potentially going to pull this thing east here, or pull this thing a little bit further north and then east. The consensus really still shows that northeasterly turn with this system, at least on the Euro and the CMC and the GFS run. Where does this officially develop at? We'll have to kind of wait and see. But that's still to be determined. I will show you guys the European run. Completely different story here last night. This is the latest European run that we have out that is currently valid right now. Now, the European run, there's ensembles that are showing this that are still all over the place. The GFS model ensembles are still kind of all over the place with this, but you can kind of see an idea here on where that tropical wave could be down here in the portions of the Yucatan as well as the Gulf of Mexico. So a lot to figure out. Be very, very mindful. Once again, guys, like I said, of who you watch and who you see on social media. There's a lot of weather creators out there as well that I like personally, but there's a lot of them too as well that could, be mindful of just the false information. So I appreciate y'all for watching this. Stay safe, be weather aware. We'll be back with another update for you guys later on down the road. But y'all have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Stay safe, guys.